Learned this from being a part of a CEO group in South Africa, part of a bigger network. So one of the CEOs was on stage and, people were asking him questions. And he said this fantastic quote, and it stuck with me. He said, "If you rest, you rot." And what he was saying was, the day you believe that you are number one in your industry or your field,
You're done.
you are done. Game over. Shop is closed. You're done. The wolf on top of the hill is never as hungry as the wolf running up the hill. The wolf running up the hill is hungry to be number one, and he will do whatever it takes to topple the wolf on the top of the hill to be number one. If you want to be number one, you need to remember, you need to have the mentality, I'm not number one, so I need to get there. And that trying to get there is what will keep you as number one.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Master More Podcast. If you're new to this channel, ensure to subscribe so that you don't miss any latest episodes. Today, I had a guest. It was actually my first guest from South Africa. He's been a trainer. He has more than 2 decades of experience, specifically on leadership. In my understanding, he's gonna add huge value to the conversation by sharing his expertise and line of experience. Today with me is someone extraordinary with his things. He's so passionate in what he do, yet I've been trying to get him in since a pretty quick time because I love his perspective and most importantly, his thought process. He has come across as someone who are thought in the leading, especially in the area of AI, leadership and management. I don't know if I missed something, but tonight I'm buzzing for welcoming Biraj!
Master Mo, thank you for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure being on your show.
Thank you for coming in. I really value your time, and especially to come in Bahrain in a short period and then leave again to South Africa and then come to Bahrain on a short period and then leave again. And every time we have an encounter, I feel that, oh my God, there is a lot of things that I resonate with Biraj, and there's a lot of lessons that I want to extract from Biraj. So thank you for making time to be in the podcast. I'm buzzing for this podcast, actually.
I am equally excited. Firstly, you have to know that I'm a huge fan of the show.
Oh, thank you.
So I follow it myself, and I'm sharing it with all the people back in South Africa. I've heard about the amazing things you're doing. It's so good to be here in your studio. It's so good to be talking to you. I cannot wait to explore this conversation further in terms of leadership and AI. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's very passionate and close to my heart about. And I've seen it with you, and I've seen how your guests are on your show as well. And I'm so happy to be part of this group of extraordinary people that have been conversing and talking and engaging with you. So it's not even a sacrifice on my part. If anything, I feel like I can contribute and be a part of this amazing idea and amazing initiative that you're undertaking. So thank you for having me.
Wow, what a way, actually. You got me on a spot that I'm like, I want to cry right now. I like it.
Nothing wrong with that.
For specific reason, there's no harm for that, obviously. What I mean, like, it was too emotional for me because normally, let me say you this, and I'm honestly, I'm open and honest guy, which because normally, the guest will say me such a compliment at the end of the podcast when they feel like relieved, they feel so happy after expressing their thoughts, their talk, their side stories. And if I resonate well with that guest, I find that by the end of the episode, I tell them, what is your final words? They will compliment me on, for example, my style of questioning. They will praise me for my communication. They will praise me for my follow-up questions. And some of them were thinking, somebody tipped me off to tell this question. And I'm like, I don't even know you before. And one of them has, but you said this in the very beginning. That was abnormal for me, to be honest.
Well, I call it like I see it. So what I've experienced of you. So my own personal belief, whether you're running a podcast, whether you're running a talk show, a TV show, a radio show, whether you're running a seminar, whether you're running a conference, it is only an extension of that leader or that leadership team or that host. In this case, you are the leader and you are the host of this particular show. And so by extension, this show is a reflection of who you are. And so what I've experienced of you, your warmth, your hospitality, the way you've engaged with me, the way you've treated me like a celebrity. I feel like I'm such an honored guest here.
You are.
It says a lot about you. And it also goes to show the strong foundation that you're setting up for your show. And so I hope that one day, I hope and I pray, and I know, I'm very confident that this show is going to be one of the top podcasts globally.
Wow.
Not just GCC, not just South Africa when I take it back there, but around the world.
Interesting.
Because of you.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Biraj, for such wonderful feedback. And I really appreciate your honesty, and I'm actually lost of words right now, just in front of camera. Just like for you to know that even me as a podcaster, sometimes I reach a point where I don't know what to say, because your compliment makes me say no words. I'm like, that's it. Enough. So thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel and ensure. Right. No. Biraj, tell me one good reason why the listener should listen to your episode throughout.
Well, there are many good reasons. Number one, if you are committed to become a better version of yourself, you got to listen to the show. If you are committed to becoming a thought leader in what you do, you got to listen to the show. If you are tired of being the version of you that does not get your next opportunity, that does not get your next raise, that does not get your next promotion, you got to listen to the show. This show is one of those shows where the more you put in and the more you act on some of the things we're going to talk about, the more you will grow. If you're listening to this on the way to work, it's the right time to do it. If you're listening to this while you're in the shower, it's the right time to do it. If you're listening to this while you're playing with your kids, it's the wrong time to do it. Play with your kids, and when you're done with them, listen to the show afterwards. If you want to improve, this is the show.
Wow. I really love it. I really love it. Let's dive in, Biraj, to the first thing I want to ask you about. Now, there is a lot of happening behind the scene of AI and leadership, and a lot of transformation actually going through this. So if I recall correctly, now you're leading, you're building a team, you're teaching leadership, you're teaching C-suite level into their leadership and stuff like that. I want to first talk to you because I know your background is someone who have subject matter experts in the AI and leadership as well at the same time. So taking this into the perspective, now AI is evolving every single day, every single hour. In fact, if you go think about Gemini, it's actually updated every single seconds, maybe like within a second it's got updated. Now, what is your thoughts into AI transformation within the leadership industry? I mean, with the industry of leadership.
Very, very good question. I would love to call myself a subject matter expert, but I cannot in good faith call myself an expert. I like to call myself an enthusiast.
Really?
An enthusiast of these subjects. Why? In my opinion, an expert means they've reached the top and the pinnacle of their game and there's nothing left to learn. So I believe there's so much more for me to learn. Therefore, I'm an enthusiast of the subject. By no means am I an expert in AI, and rightfully said, it's evolving every day. So your question is very interesting. How is AI influencing leadership or transforming leadership? So where did leadership start? Leadership started centuries ago when man decided that we need someone to do something, right? We need to build a house. So perhaps there was a family and there was a husband and a wife and a couple of kids. And so at some point they realized we got to stay somewhere. So someone took the lead to build a house, to build a hut. What AI has done is it's accelerated the way leaders can transform their people. How? Access to information, which the internet gave us a long time ago. Access to new ways of doing things, which the internet gave us. This is the next level of evolution in how people connect and how leaders are inspiring their people and engaging with their people and taking them to the next level. The purpose of a leader is to lead. Whatever tools they use to achieve that, that's what I encourage. So if AI is one of your tools, fantastic. Let's use it, but let's maximize it. Let's optimize it. Let's use it in a way that people are inspired. If Mo is my manager, I want to be so happy to see Mo every day. I want to be so happy to see my organization every day. And if we are tackling the new generations in terms of Gen Zs and millennials, their natural expectation is that their leaders are renowned or are familiar with how to use AI. So my job is to share with leaders, you have access to this wonderful technology. Let's use it for you to achieve your business objectives and to get your people where they need to be. No man is a single island. You cannot do anything alone. Everything is built with somebody else. In this case, the AI is an extension, artificial intelligence. Intelligence means we have a way of doing things. There's a systematic process. Artificial means it's coming from the computer.
Yeah.
It's coming from a new brain.
So do you agree if I ask you this now, and I understand your perspective right now, if I ask you this of how do you see AI reshaping the next decade leaders? How do you see, is it happening? Is it happening partially? Is it happening? Because my understanding is that you are running a lot of courses and training managers, and not only in MENA region, you also do it in other continents, not only in Middle East. Is that correct, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So our business operates in South Africa, Africa, Middle East, Europe, UK. So pretty much 2 hours to the left and 2 hours to the right of our time zone in South Africa. Yeah. Okay, so think of it like this. Every time there's a new revolution, change happens. We had the 4th Industrial Revolution. We've had so many in history. This revolution of AI is the one that is fast-tracking how we achieve our business objectives faster. So working with leaders and managers around the world, there is no right or wrong way of how to use AI as a leader. What there is the way that's relevant to you. So if you are new on this journey of leadership and the journey of using AI, that's okay. There's best practices for you. And if you are quite senior, that's okay. There's best practices for you. My job is to make sure that whatever you learn on an AI level, it's relevant for your business and helps you make more money to make sure your people are paid.
Sweet. I love that. The way you put it, there's something I want to tell you, and I have noticed about you. The way you put it, it sounds really nice. It feels like it's very easy, yet it's not true. I don't think it's that easy. Don't you think?
Good point. Very good point. So what I've noticed, there's 3 types of leaders.
Right.
There's the ones that are adopting AI and are embracing it fully. There's the ones that are a little more hesitant. There's a bit more fear behind it. Perhaps they fear it may replace them. Perhaps they fear that it will show them up. There's many fears. And then there's the 3rd type of leader that is looking, listening, watching to see what happens around the world and how other leaders are using it. And then they'll adopt it later on, which ties into the early adopter technology curve. Have you seen how people adopt technology? You have the early adopters, you have the ones that sit in the middle of the bell curve, and the late bloomers that are right at the end. With all 3 leaders, is a different conversation. As an example, if you and I were speaking to a leader who has a bit more fear in using AI, your root cause analysis will be to find out, why does this leader have that fear? Once we can remove that fear, then we get them to use the technology. With this leader, we show them that how AI actually supplements or complements what they want to achieve. It does not replace you. But there is a very powerful saying, and the saying is this: AI will never replace you, but a person using AI
Will replace you.
So do you want to learn the new skill and be current and be relevant? Or do you want to become obsolete in the next 5 years? Think of it like this. When email first came out, maybe there were some people that were really truly excited. And maybe there were some people that still wanted to write letters and envelopes and post it and send it off and wait for a long time. But ultimately today, we cannot function without email, right? Everybody uses email. In fact, take it one step further. We cannot even function without the likes of instant messaging, the WhatsApps of the world, the IMs of the world. Using AI will become like that. In 5 and 10 years' time, if you're not using AI, you're irrelevant. You wouldn't be employed.
Is that a guess, or that's a different from your perspective?
From my perspective, it is a trend that we see. Why? In 5 years' time, millennials and Gen Zs will be the majority of an organization's employee base. Now, if you open WhatsApp right now, the first thing you see right at the top, it says Meta AI.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same with every application you use. I mean, even the editing software, once this video has been shot, we're going to be using AI to help us. So the millennials and Gen Zs, and you and I fall in that category, we're the millennials, right? We have the expectation that AI is just a natural part of what we do daily. Like our previous generation, they had the natural expectation to use email every day.
Mm.
We have the natural expectation to use AI every day. When was the last time you didn't use AI in your day?
I don't really remember. I think it's just for the benefit of the guests so that they have better idea. Actually, Biraj is the one behind me using AI. He's the one who inspired me to use AI. Actually,
I didn't know that.
That's something, because previously I remember one of the things I used to do, and it takes me hours and hours and hours. And I'm really, really sorry to cut you off there, but I just want to share this because this is what happened for me. And Biraj is actually come across to someone who is enthusiasm into, and he does a couple of training back in the end. Of course, I'm part of organization. I don't want to call the name, but Biraj is train us on things that we're exposed before, and one of them was AI. So I heard about AI, but I didn't really effectively use it.
Right.
Then I start using it before your course, and I'm like, wow, these things are, but I don't really quite get the best out of it. So if I would have to say optimize, I will catch that word from what you just said right 5 minutes ago. I didn't optimize it to the level because I didn't really understand the prompt. And for the benefit of the guest, the prompt is where we key in the question that we would like the AI to generate a reply for it, which basically OpenAI or Gemini, they call them generative AI.
Correct.
So I was trained under Biraj to understand the mechanism and how deep the prompt is going. That I didn't understand. And Biraj played a critical part in it because he teach me things and he inspired me to actually move other tasks within the AI instead of just using for the things I think I didn't want it to do. And he does this very, very well. And right after that course, believe it or not, and I never told you this because I thought once you are in the studio, then I'm telling you, you inspired me and you take my optimization level, let's say from level 50 or 40 to even 90%.
Excellent.
All because of you.
Excellent. Well done on using it. And and there you go. That's the case study in itself. Once you know how to use it effectively or efficiently, it becomes part of your daily practice. Mo, I cannot remember the last time I didn't use AI in one day. I cannot remember. For me, it's replacing my search engine. So on a mobile phone now, on most people's homepage, they'll have a picture of their loved one. And at the bottom, they have the Google search bar, depending which phone you're using, right? So mostly Androids, they have search bars, where with iPhone, you got to scroll up or enter the application. But in the future, mobile phones, instead of having the Google search bar, they'd have the AI prompt section where you can directly type or record your voice and get your question answered. So the nature of human beings is to evolve and grow. And that's how we've survived on this planet for so many years. AI is another stepping stone in human beings' evolution and growth. Are there dangers to AI? Absolutely. There's dangers with everything. Is there a danger to driving a car? Of course. Whether you're driving fast or slow, there's a danger. If you're riding a motorbike, there's a higher risk of danger. In the same way, using different applications of AI has higher and lower risks. It's all about the responsible practice of using AI, the governance of using AI, how you're sharing private and personal information using AI.
Nice.
There's the dark side of AI, which is a topic for another discussion. But ultimately, anything that is unchecked has a dark side to it.
Right. I can tell. And through your experiences, now, since you are operating your businesses in multiple continental phase, and so I think not every continent has different things. So through your interaction with thought leaders from these organizations, let's say one from Middle East, one from Dubai, one from Africa, one from South Africa, one from UK, through your interaction, what is the majority of the people that you had encountered, and to which level they are there from the three, from your...
Yeah, good question again. Okay, so what have we noticed? We've noticed that the smaller, agile companies are adopting AI a lot faster. The larger companies are taking a bit more time to adopt. Why? Of course, there's a lot more governance around it, and there's a lot more people that have to decide what is good and what is not too good to have on the AI. So, for example, an IT department, they want to have all their protocols and systems and privacy laws and all of that set before they allow the entire organization to use the AI, and that's reasonable and understandable. Whereas a smaller company, they may be a lot more agile, they may have the data stored securely, and so they decide, let's use AI without putting personal private information on it. In terms of continents, it's quite a mix, because there are certain companies that are in the Middle East that are, and Bahrain included, that are spearheading the use of AI. There are certain companies in South Africa that absolutely love it and want to take it to the next level. And the same goes for Europe and the UK. What I haven't seen yet is where organizations are taking AI and saying, this is going to become part of your standard practice. In other words, we accept that everybody uses search engines every day. We now want to ensure that the entire organization gets to use AI uninhibited with all access. And of course, again, you can't just have it. It's like saying, we're giving everybody company cars and allowing them to go to the Bahrain racetrack, and with all the company cars, you're allowed to drive at 250 kilometers every day, all day. You're not going to get that, right? You can't have unrestricted access. So, of course, within reason, we haven't seen that. Would I like it to get there? No, of course not. I'd like it to get to levels of security and responsibility. This is what I like to see. So let's say there's my team. And let's say my team, as you rightfully said, my business is in different continents. And I want my business to enter a new market. And let's just use the example, the market is going to be Saudi Arabia. Let's just say that. I want them to use AI to be able to completely understand what does the Saudi market or the landscape look like, and to create an entry strategy into Saudi that is relevant for Saudi in 2025. AI can help them do that. I'm looking for an entry strategy. Now, the entry strategy is only the 10% above the iceberg. The work that goes behind it, the 90%, that's what they need to be really, really smart on. And that's identifying everything. So what does a political landscape look like? What does the environmental landscape look like? Social, technology, the pest leg system that you went through in your MBA. That's where all the hard work comes in. I can get my daughter to use AI, and she's 5 years old. She will use a voice recording, and she'll say, AI, please tell me a story about the three bears. And the AI will populate a story about Goldilocks and the three bears and communicate it. It is only as powerful, the AI, it's only as powerful as your prompt. The smarter your prompt, the better your results. The more detailed your prompts, of course in various levels, the better your results. And that's where leaders make a big mistake. So I work a lot of leaders on building strategy using AI. And most of them give up on the 90% of hard work that needs to get into that AI strategy before they can even do a prompt, because it's that detailed. We look at things like organizational objectives. So we call it the OKR, right? Objectives and key results. We look at the vision. One part of it, a small part of it, is a SWOT analysis. Another part of it is the leading and lagging behaviors of the organization. That means what you've done in the past has gotten you up to a certain point, but that has to change in order for you to go into the future. What are those new changes? What do that new behaviors look like? Let's go back to the entry strategy into Saudi. One new behavior could be, I might need to get somebody who speaks Arabic in order to enter that market. So my previous behaviors of not having an Arabic speaker has taken me up to this point. But in order for my business to get into the new market, I need a new team member who speaks Arabic. If I continue the way I've done things, I will not be able to enter that market. And that's the part where 90% of leaders give up on the hard work before actually using AI.
Why? Don't you think that if they understand, like I completely understand your perspective, but I can't understand their perspective. When I know I can do so much better, faster, more efficient, and will take literally a couple of seconds, not even minutes. Why would I stop that just for understanding the prompt? I find it difficult to understand. So, in your perspective, why do you think they have? Is it like they're stubborn? If there's their ego, is it their reluctant to challenge themselves? And
Yeah.
and what is it really
Yeah.
stop them from having such a great tools in their hands, and yet they don't really utilize it
Yeah,
or
good question
optimize
again.
it?
Good question again. So, according to Dr. Freud, every human being has two primary emotions.
Mm.
From these two primary emotions, every other emotion expands. These two primary emotions are love and fear.
Okay.
Now, why would a leader not want to adopt AI? Well, for a number of reasons.
Mm.
One, they could love the way they're currently doing things. Two, they could fear change. Three, they also fear that the AI could show them up that they don't know what are all those details in the 90% of work that has to happen before you even log on and put in a prompt.
Hmm.
Four, you love the fact that you don't want to disrupt the status quo. Five, you love the fact that you're in a very comfortable job, getting a paycheck at the end of the month. Why do you need to go and disrupt, make something change, and make something new? Six, we fear uncertainty. Human beings fear uncertainty. It's why we have a fear of the dark. Because back in the day, again, thousands of years ago, when we all lived in hut houses, we were scared of the dark because we didn't know what animal can come out and attack us. And so fear of the dark was born, fear of the unknown. Nowadays, we have electricity in the night, but the fear of the unknown exists in other parts of our lives. One of them is adopting technology. So you're right. Ego does play a role in it, absolutely. But I think to another level, comfort levels, comfort zone.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with this. I don't want to change it. And fear of the unknown or fear of being shown up could be another opportunity or another reason why we're not adopting AI. I mean, Mo, we do not know the full capability of what AI can do just yet. And remember, by no means am I claiming to be an expert on AI. I just love AI a lot, and I've been able to use it in my business and help leaders around the world use it in their businesses. These leaders range from one-man companies to 40,000-man companies.
Wow.
So I'm very blessed to have worked at full range. And along that scale, there are many leaders that have high ego, and there are many leaders that have high humility. And it all depends on who is the person you're talking to and what level of drive, of humility, of passion, of commitment to helping others that they have. That'll be a factor on whether they adopt AI or not. And we cannot force AI on anybody. But just remember that current employees, and by 2030, majority of our employees are going to be millennials and Gen Zs. Right now, majority of employees are millennials, right? In 5 years' time, it's going to be millennials and Gen Zs. They expect our leaders to be able to use AI. I expect my leader to be able to use email. In the same way, they're going to expect us to use AI.
Nice.
If you are planning to be a leader in the next 5 years, one of the skills you need, besides influencing, negotiating, communicating, all of these nice things, one of the skills you need is how to use generative AI. At a minimum, how to use generative AI. Another one will be how to use data science in making decisions. So we call it data-driven decision making. If you're making decisions just based on intuition, yeah, there's a space for it, but that's not how you drive businesses into the future. It has to be data-driven. As an example, I believe my next hire in my business is going to be a data scientist. Have to. How can we make decisions without having a data scientist? There's so much of data, so much of information. I mean, big data is all around us, right? There's 1,000 pieces of information being pushed to us as human beings in every second. I mean, you just open up Instagram now and look at the targeted ads that are coming towards you. There's information being pushed everywhere. Our previous generation, the trouble they had or the struggle they had was, how do they access information? How do they go and find it? You might remember when we were in school, before we had the internet, we'd go to the library and we'd sit there and we'd look through all our encyclopedias and build our bibliographies and all of that. We had the trouble of finding information. That doesn't exist for this generation now.
Yeah, I agree.
For them, it's curating what is the right information that they need because they have access to everything. So what of this 100% of information of this entire pizza, which is a relevant slice for me?
Nice. I love how you put it and the different thing. No, I've seen you talked about a lot about the and below the iceberg leadership. What is your thought into this? What makes you so much believe into this? Why you are so passionate about this? And how this can really identify the motivation and behavior of an employee that one of your customers, or even from your experience, that you can tell us about?
So you're right. It all starts below the iceberg. So for the viewers, the below the iceberg analogy is...
No, they don't know.
They
For the
don't know.
benefit of the guests,
Okay.
please, Biraj, explain to them this.
All right. So below the iceberg, if you haven't heard of it, you've obviously heard of Titanic. And so Titanic was sailing along, on the ocean, and it obviously hit the iceberg. And we know the story with Jack and Rose. That was a very famous thing. By the way, my wife makes me watch Titanic once a year, every year. So I'm very familiar with what happens in the movie. Okay, so the ship hits the Titanic. Titanic hits the iceberg, and it sinks. It only sinks because of the depth and strength of the ice below the surface of the water, not because of what's above the water. Now, it's generally accepted that 10% of the iceberg is above the surface of the water and 90% is below. In other words, because it was so strong in the 90%, it tore through the hull of the Titanic, and the ship, which they said was unsinkable, sank. Human beings are built exactly the same way. We're built like an iceberg. What I see on the surface is only a 10% representation of what goes on below the surface, and I'll give you a very simple example. So let's say you are into fitness and a healthy lifestyle. And let's say one of the things you have to do is go to the gym. So if you want a six-pack, you think, if I do sit-ups every day and work on my core, I'm going to get a six-pack. Exactly. There's a ton of things that need to happen before that. Number one is your mentality and mindset, the desire and drive to achieve this goal. Number two, they say abs are made in the kitchen. You got to be eating the right amount of calories, be in a calorie deficit. Number three, you probably need to introduce some cardio at some level to have a calorie deficit. If not that, then have a high level of energy expansion when you're training in the gym. Explosive HIIT type of training. In other words, there's so much of work that has to happen over a long period of time in order for you just to get a six-pack. So when somebody sees a six-pack, they say, wow, it looks good. What they're actually saying is, wow, I'm really impressed with that 90% that I don't get to see. The amount of dedication, the hard work, every time you go for a birthday and you don't have a slice of the birthday cake. Every time you go out for a meal and you decide not to have dessert. Every time you go out with your friends and they're having sugary drinks, soft drinks, perhaps a drink here or there, and you decide not to have it and you're just drinking water. That's the 90% below the surface that people don't often get to see or appreciate in the way that it needs to be. Leaders are built like this. What we see as a leader, you get the leader that will only direct you and tell you what needs to be done. You'll get the leader that only coaches you and does nothing else. All of these traits that we see on the leader is because how they've been built, the 90% below the surface. As you rightfully said, I'm hugely passionate about building leaders below the surface of the iceberg. Why? And Mo, I've committed to being open and honest with you. I have made in my career thousands of mistakes because of my below the iceberg. My below the iceberg, my 90% was not strong enough. As a result, I've hurt and damaged people. I've had people resign because of me. I've had people meet with my bosses because of me. I've had people not want to join the company because of me. I've damaged people because of my poor way of leading. And until I had to build my below the iceberg, I could not lead people. I thought I was leading, but I was not. I was doing damage, if I'm truly honest with myself. So because of those years of making mistakes, now when I work with leaders below the iceberg, I can show them the direct result of them not building their 90% below the surface.
I like your analogy. And I love how you come across how someone, I'm not sure if I'm using the right word on vulnerable and sharing this honesty, but I want to ask you a question. Back in that era, back in the time that you thought that what you did is the correct thing. Now, when you were thinking that you were leading a team and vice versa, you were actually destroying the team and destroying their morals, and you make them maybe disengage and maybe hating you and maybe hate the company they work for. They don't want to were your thought that you were doing the right thing, or your thought that they are not good enough? What was your perspective back then?
Nice analogy. So it's a combination of that and more. So here's the thing. As a leader, I believe I'm doing the right thing. And that's the first problem. That sentence starts with I. So by default, I'm putting myself first. What leaders, or what we encourage leaders to do, is to say, not am I doing the right thing, but is this what my team needs? Where we're putting the team first. What does my team need right now to become the best version of themselves? And often we'll tell leaders, break it down individually. So let's say I'm part of your team, Mo. You can't manage me in the way you manage one of my colleagues. You'd have to manage me individually. We share an individual relationship. Yes, there's going to be team meetings. Yes, there's going to be team goals, team objectives. But ultimately, I, as your employee, I want a relationship with you, my manager, Mo. I joined this company because you were part of the hiring team, and there's something that I saw in you that I resonated with, and I decided to join this company. If I didn't like you, I would have declined the job and worked somebody else. And that's how the modern world works, especially with millennials and Gen Zs. Unless you're super, super desperate for a job and you'll take anything. But 9 times out of 10, you like the organization, you're hoping you have a good manager, and so you join. To make it relevant, did I think I was doing the right thing? Yes. And when I saw the damage it was doing, there was a part in me that secretly knew this is not the right thing, but because of my own inadequacies and call it lack of confidence, I put on this really, really strong front. And most leaders do that. We don't truly believe that we are the best person for the job. Every human being has these, what we call the shadow self, the darker side to you. And this may include having you being your own worst enemy. You can be your own self-critic. You can have the imposter syndrome. You can second guess yourself on so many things. These characteristics, Mo, are the ones that prevent you from becoming a really good leader. Because a confident, strong leader sits back and says, all right, team, we face the problem. How do you guys think we solve this? And the leader who's leading with ego says, right, we have this problem. I know how to solve this problem, and you're going to follow me to solve this problem. And then he goes and presents the solution to the problem, and he takes all of the credit for it. The good leader says, well done, team. You've come up with a solution. Dear C-suite, have you met my team? They're the ones that solve this problem.
You'll never take the credit for something that they do.
They never take the credit for it. And that's something that leaders have to understand. We are put in leadership positions not to take credit, but to help people become a better version of themselves. In doing so, the company becomes a better version of itself. We measure that better version by the bottom line. Profit, gross profit, net profit, revenue, all of those things. But that is a byproduct of how well we are helping individuals and teams grow and become better versions of themselves. Otherwise, we are no different to any other animal on the planet.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Speaking of business growth and how you grow in a team, it feels like you knew I will ask you this. I don't know how you end the answer of the question by allowing me to have a better idea on how to ask you this. Because I had a question related to the business growth. And my question is for you. You have successfully grown a business across both emerging and developed countries. What is the key difference between these?
Firstly, Mo, your line of questioning is spot on tonight. You're asking some very, very intricate, detailed questions. Think of it like this. They are, compared to the two markets, they're emerging and developed markets, right? Mm-hmm. There are similarities in their differences, and there are differences in their similarities. And it starts off with one main thing. I believe that business is done purely on relationships. You have to have relationships, right? So in an emergent market and in a developed market, you have to have relationships. Relationships are built on trust. Now, Stephen Covey says trust is based on two things, character and competence. Okay. So without those two things, you will not be able to build trust and you will not be able to get a relationship. For me, in an emerging market, I think it's easier at times to sell into an emerging market because the hunger and the desire for that market to grow, hence the name emerging, it's coming out of something. Because of that strong desire and that push towards economic growth, the need for what we do in terms of improving the business. Remember, for the viewers,
For the benefit of the viewers.
for the benefit of the viewers, I like this term. I like to use it. For the benefit of the viewers, I don't really train. I'm not really a trainer. I'm more of a business improvement specialist. I work with teams and organizations. It just so happens that one of the ways of doing it is by training. But guaranteed, there are far more qualified trainers out there than I am. All right. So when this market is growing and emerging, they have the desire and the need for the services that we offer. In a developed market, there's already the top dominant players that have networked and have built a relationship over years. So it's not always easy to get into that network. But once you do get in, it takes time. And to your comment just before we started the session, you were mentioning, you got to follow up 11 times. 100%. Whether you're in an emerging market or in a developed market, you got to be knocking on doors day in, day out. Now that's, Master Mo, that takes a lot of resilience. According to the World Economic Forum, resilience is in the top 3 requirements of a leader for 2025. Leaders need to be resilient. Salespeople need to be resilient. HR people need to be resilient. Finance needs to be resilient. If you're in business today, you got to be resilient, no matter where you are in the world.
I love it. I love it. For the benefit of the guests, you just mentioned something and then you said a terminology. Maybe they will not really understand. So therefore, I will get you back and so that you can explain to them. Because I know that rule. Maybe the list for the benefit of the people, they don't know. So could you please elaborate on the 11 follow-up rule, just to give them a hint of what's happening? Because you mentioned the story thinking that they should know, but reality-wise, maybe that they don't know.
Right.
So I'm sorry to bring you back to that question again. I mean, just to elaborate more into that 11.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks for the guidance. Okay, so here's what normally happens. Whatever product or service you're selling in the world, you'll go out, you'll find a customer, you'll knock on the door, whether it's an email, LinkedIn profile, a meeting, a proposal, whatever it may be, and you submit this proposal, you do the pitch, you do whatever, you send the quote, whatever you need to do. You ask for the meeting. And then you hope and pray that something will happen and the person will come back to you and say, Master Mo, I'd like to buy from you. And we sit and we hope. And of course, nothing happens. And so maybe a week later, you decide, okay, I'm going to follow up with Master Mo. I've sent him a quote or I've done the meeting or whatever it may be. And he doesn't reply to you. And what happens is we become despondent. We become sad. We become rejected. Oh, well, you know what? It's lowered my confidence. Maybe I didn't do a good job. Maybe he doesn't like me. And I'm not cut out for this here. Why did I choose to sell? Why did I choose to start my own business? Why did I choose to bring this new product in the market? And we leave it. And then we go and try and find a new customer. Now, if you take a lion, and I love using animal references, like as humans, we can learn so much from the animal kingdom. Interestingly, Master Mo, do you know what is the success rate of a lion or a pride of lions every time they go out and hunt? How many hunts do they have to go out to get an animal or a kill?
I have very low information into these things, so please,
Okay.
you throws is yours. If you ask me a question, I'll just bluff it.
Right. So we think the lion it's the king of the jungle. It's the strongest. So when they go out to hunt, you expect them to be very, very successful, right?
Correct. 100%.
A lion's success rate is only 20%.
Really?
Yeah. So for every 10 attempts, they're only bringing down 2 animals. Interesting, right? And they're one of the ones with the highest success rate when it comes to the carnivores.
Wow.
Okay? Their prey is quite elusive. So the lion does not give up. The lion can be as hungry and as skinny as you've ever seen it before. It will never eat grass. It will never eat a fruit. It will try and try and try and try and try again until it brings down that animal, that prey, and it will have its fill. And it will eat till its heart's content. Hence the phrase, the lion's share, because it takes the most of it, right? So we as humans, in our sales cycle, we tend to give up after the second or third attempt. The stats suggest, like the lion has to go and hunt 10 times to get 2 kills, the stats say that we have to follow up with a customer or a potential lead or a prospect at an average of 11 times.
Average?
Which means it could be more,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah.
An average of 11 times in order to get a meeting, a sale, a proposal, or something over the line. How many times do you give up after sending out an email or a meeting request or a proposal or a quote? If you haven't done it 11 times, you have no excuse. If you haven't done it 11 times, you deserve to lose that sale. Do it 11 times. Do it 15 times. Do it 20 times. Unless that customer says, Master Mo, do not contact me as long as you are alive on this planet.
That's like the red flag. Don't come near me.
If they say that, then say fantastic, no problem. But there's those customers that say, contact me in 3 months' time. Contact me next year. I mean, we've had customers that say, contact me next year. We contact them next year, Mo. They do not give us business. We contact them the year afterwards. And in some shape or form, we get an introduction here, we get a word of mouth referral, we get something. But you got to keep that relationship. It does not matter which market you're in. Relationships is the way we do business.
Interesting. Which brings me to the questions that I had in mind, which is, what is the most difficult market that you had difficult to enter, and what were the obstacles, if there were, and how did you come over it?
Yeah, again, your line of questioning is great tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
The most difficult market that I found, when I started off, it was South Africa. When I went into the Middle East, it was the Middle East. When I went into Africa, it was Africa. When I went into Europe, it was Europe. When I went into the UK, it was the UK. And I realized that no market is difficult. It's my mindset that had to shift and change. My mindset made it difficult. My mindset said, oh, I'm the new boy on the block, so no one's going to buy from me. The moment I changed my mindset, Master Mo, every market opens up. There is no difficult market. There is only a difficult mindset.
Wow, that's so deep. And I think it's so true as well, if I think about it, isn't it?
Change your mindset and see how that market opens up.
Wow.
It's
And how
only
did
the
you
filter.
learn that? If you may ask
Yeah,
me.
yeah, absolutely. I learned it by not making sales. I learned it by not growing my business. I learned it by, Master Mo, there's been times in my account where it's been super, super low. It's been times when it's been on zero. There's been times when it's been in negative. I know what's it like to live on this entire scale of wealth. And it's an absolute blessing when you have money in your account. Because there's many people around the world that don't have money in their account. So how did I learn? When the chips were down, when there was nothing in my account and there was nothing else to change besides my mind and my approach, that's when I started having the realizations that, Biraj, what you're doing is not working. And the only thing you can change, the only thing you have full control over is your body, mind, and your spirit. So how are you changing your mindset today? What's the first thing you think about when you go to work today? What's the last thing you think about when you leave your office? My mentality when I go to work every morning is back to my purpose. I know for a fact that I am put on this planet to make a difference in people's lives and make them a better version of themselves. Because it took me almost 20 years to become this version of myself. This is the version of myself that I'm the most proud of. But it's also the version that has seen the most amount of growth because of pain. Growth comes from pain. Ask any child. You have a young child, right? When he first started learning how to walk, how many times did he fall?
A lot.
Exactly, countless. And when their bones start to merge and become one, how painful is that as a kid? Right? You might remember when you were a kid as well, some nights you couldn't sleep. Your feet get so sore because your bones are mending and becoming one. So by nature, growth is painful. Only when you're hitting rock bottom and you're in that painful state do you realize something's got to change. And that something is mentality. Below the iceberg means mentality.
With the current challenges and the current development and the advancement in technology and all other things and other, like, the future of work really is going from place to place and keep on flying, especially when you think about this in the multiple ways, that the workplace is changing, and that's something happened rapidly that you can't change it. So what
Yes.
would be your advice for the upcoming leaders that's coming to the workplace? What would be your advice? What would be your take on it? How would you prep them, for example, if it happens to be one of your customers give you big project and that's going to be in that focus? What would be your tactics on that?
Yes. So one of the things we've learned is also how we promote our leaders. And what happens is, so let's take the sales space, right? So you're a really, really good salesperson.
Thank you. I am.
You are. I've seen that.
Okay.
I have seen that. So you have somebody who's a really, really good salesperson. So let's say I'm your manager. So I come to you and I say, Mastermo, you're an exceptional salesperson. By the way, here's your promotion. You now become a sales manager. And you have no clue how to manage people. You are a subject matter expert on the sales front, but on the leadership part and the management people, there's a lot to learn. And so we start inculcating or developing bad habits. My advice to up-and-coming young leaders, or if you're in a recent leadership position, 3 things. Number 1, be humble. Humility is where growth lies. The more humble you are, the more people will follow you. The most attractive quality in a human being is humility. I'm not saying let people take advantage of you. I'm not saying be quiet. I'm not saying let people walk all over you. I'm saying be humble. Be humble means it's not about me, it's about us. Number 2, learn something new every day. As a leader, people look to you for answers and solutions. If you don't have a depth of knowledge, if your 90% is not strong enough, you will crumble when you face challenges and danger. And learning something new can be split into learning a new skill above the iceberg or learning something new about yourself below the iceberg. You will need both.
Tell me why.
If you only had the skills and you were faced with a human challenge, and people call it the EQ and IQ part, right? You'd be able to technically solve a problem, but you would not be able to connect with people and let them become a better version of themselves, or make them a better version of themselves, or mold them, or guide them, or lead them. So you'll have the skills to solve a problem, but you would not be able to move people to solve a problem. A leader is not one that can just solve problems. A leader is one who inspires others to solve problems, in the workplace, that is. So you need both. So step number 2 is learn something new, no matter what. Step number 3, everything that you do as a leader must tie into one of 3 things. So 3.1, you are measured by other leaders, by the board, by the CEO, by stakeholders. 3.1, you're measured by how you drive up value in the organization. Value could be anything. It could be a customer service level. It could be profit and loss statements that you need to work towards. It could be sales targets. It could be anything, however the business defines value. There are 12 components of value: performance, ROI, many of these things. 3.2, how are you optimizing resources? As a leader, you're given tools, equipment, people. How have you optimized that? Are you wasting it? Do you have your top performers doing small things like solving small problems instead of them working on the bigger accounts and bringing in more revenue, as an example? And 3.3, which is driving down cost. Show me one leader that's not held accountable to driving down cost. So those are 3 things. If you're a new leader, stay humble. Learn something new every day. 3.1, drive up value. 3.2, maximize resources. 3.3, drive down cost.
If I would have to bring you back again to this, I like the fact that you indirectly ran away from telling that 12 thing into 3.1, which is you said investment or ROI, and he just stopped and skipped it somehow. Like I love that. How you. Now I want to jump into this because I find this very, very interesting and deep. Right. Why I'm saying this? Because the first 2 is somehow related to the person, not specifically the business.
Okay.
And then the third one, it goes to 3 point, which is directly to the business.
Yes.
Could you please give us more clarity for this, especially for the people that they're hearing this for the first time in their life? They have no idea about that. So
yes.
The way you're saying it, I completely understand and get it, because this is what we do together. But I'm sure the people who are listening right now, they might be interested to know more into this. So
right.
If you could elaborate more, because I think this is very genuine topic, and I find very little awareness about this actually, and this is amazing. Simply.
All right. Yes. So a lot of what I share with you and the team and my other customers is a culmination of a lot of knowledge and information, experience, and mistakes simplified into 3 or 4 steps. And most leaders do this around the world. It's not just I that do it. Many people, you'll do the same for your son. You tell him, hey, don't touch the stove. You're going to get burnt. But that's because you've been burnt by the stove before. So you can tell him in 30 seconds how to not get burnt. So let's talk about these 3 steps or these 3 things. The first 2 correctly are rightly for the person. And the last one, the third one, is for the business. Because of 2 reasons. When you're employed by a company, you're employed because they believe you're the best person to do what you promised to do. I'm coming in as a salesperson. I'm coming in as an accountant. I'm coming in as a data scientist. I'm coming in as a CEO. And I'm committing to drive results in the organization. Okay? Driving that results is dependent on your level or quality of your iceberg. Because when you're faced with challenge, if this part's not strong, like the Titanic, if it hit the iceberg and the iceberg wasn't strong, when it hits the iceberg, the top part will just bobble away on the surface of the water because it's not strong. In the same way, you can have all the skills, and if I just knock you, you'll just bobble out of the picture. So the first 2, learn something new. Be humble. That's part of building your 90%. That's part of building your character, building who you are. How many people you know, Master Mo, that are committed to learning something new every single day? Come hell or high water, they're going to learn something new.
I would say less than 5%, to be honest.
Right, very, very few. And this is what makes you different as a leader. The fact that you learn that fast, it does not matter what you learn. What matters is your speed of learning and speed of application. Because, and the viewers, I hope the viewers get to see this, but there's some amazing books here about entrepreneurship and management and working with people and leadership. Some phenomenal stuff here. But this means nothing if it just sits on the shelf. To take this and to make it relevant to a business and to people, that's where the power lies. So those 3 steps, first 2 is about you. The third one is because you've contracted to be part of this business and drive objectives. As an example, we're seeing now with more businesses coming out of Europe, particularly the Scandinavian countries, they are appointing CEOs and department heads and executives on a 2-year contract within that particular department. And then that leader has to cycle into other departments. And if you're not on your target, and if you're not reaching your goals, we're not renewing your contract at the end of that term. No more do you have, I'm employing you until kingdom come. I'm employing you with very specific goals and objectives, and you need to hit those goals and objectives. By the same token, you also need to get our people to hit their goals and objectives.
I like that. I like that. Now, if I'll ask you this, and in line with what you have just recently said, it's from your perspective, what's the most competitive challenges that you're facing in order to prep the people to be prepared for such a thing? Let's dive into your current objective. When you said they'll give allocation, let's say executive level with 2 years of experience, they have to do certain things. So from your perspective, what are the things that companies must focus on in order to get these people to the right direction that they are looking for?
Companies have to focus on a few things. I'll give you the top sort of 4 or 5. One of them is that we need to retain our top talent. In order to drive business results, we need the best people. So anything we undertake must tie into how are we keeping our employees engaged, committed, not necessarily happy, because happiness and sadness is fleeting. I can give you a raise every month, you'll be happy, but at the next month you want another raise, you won't be happy, right? So it's not just about money and happiness. Happiness and sadness come and go. As with everything in life, it comes and goes. But there's a level of contentment. For example, even in your marriage or your relationship, there's happiness and sadness. But hopefully there's a level of contentment that keeps you committed to the relationship. In the same way, we need to empower our leaders, our employees to have that level of contentment at their work, which goes to point number 2. Point number 2 is that the modern employee needs purpose in their work. They need to know that what they do ties into a bigger picture. It's not just standalone. In the olden days, you could have somebody working in a factory, and all they had to do was put something on a treadmill or take something off the treadmill. In South Africa, they even had factories where a person was responsible for picking up the toothpaste container and screwing the lid on before it was automated. Okay? And when it was automated, people lost jobs. That has no space in the workplace today, a job where there's no purpose. So point number 2 is that employees, leaders, executives, a board, all of them have to have purpose. Point number 3 is understanding the vision of the organization. It all starts with a vision. Why are some of the biggest companies in the world, the most successful companies in the world, getting even more successful and even more bigger? It's because people buy into the vision. There are 9 times out of 10, if you ask somebody, would you like to work at Google, with the limited knowledge that they have of Google, they'll probably say yes. Probably. If you ask them Apple, they'll probably say yes. More often than not, right? We don't have exact stats, but more often than not, they'd say yes. Why? Because they buy into the vision of that organization. And that's what we need. Whether you're a one-man company or whether you have 100,000 employees, make sure that every employee from the CEO all the way down understands the vision. It all starts with vision.
I like that.
You had a vision for this podcast, Master Mo. What was your vision for this podcast?
Wow. That's a question, actually. The vision of the podcast is to convey culture, heritage, inspire, showcase, stories from around it. I find all of these reasons are good reasons to start the podcast, because I find that there is a gap. There is a lot of information or some things happening within this island in Bahrain and within the MENA region that the outsider doesn't know about. And 2, well, I keep this as A. B, I believe there is a misunderstanding, and there's also recent media platform is podcast is happening, actually one of the best thing to showcase our things. And so I believe that it's not the only, and I have full respect for the people around the globe, but also for the benefit of the people who are within the GCC, Middle Eastern, they still there think that our messages, our voice are not heard. It's because there is nothing spoken them. And I refer this actually to my own personal experience when I was studying in UK. Just pure example, telling them I'm from Bahrain. Where is that? Bahrain, the heart of the motorsport, for example. The first circuit in the Gulf was in Bahrain. It started from 2004. They will never know. But when I say Dubai, aha! Big tank in your backpack. I'm like, no, guys. That's the sheikhs. That's someone else. We are not having oil tanks in my bag. Trust me. When I say Dubai, they will know. Said Emirates, United Arab Emirates, they don't know. So there's a lot of misconception happening in the Eastern world, and that's actually one of the reasons why I have to convey a lot of messages to my people who are around me. Why would you do the podcast in English? And one of the reason is that, first of all, my thought process is in English, because throughout my career till I had my higher studies was in English. So there you go. This is the first reason. Second is about conveying that strong essence. Like I said, the message, the heritage, the culture, things happening here, and it's not even been told. A lot of things. One of the things I want to touch upon, and I don't really get out of the conversation zone and zoom out and talk about something else. But you ask me a question. Normally, the guest will be listening to my question. It's not the other way around. But since you did it, I would had a pleasure to answer you that. And as honestly, I have noticed that. I enjoy doing this. And one of the things that I have noticed, we have lack of data, simply. Lack of data. So when you go to Google, let's say, business graduate in UK, where they are working at the moment, MBA graduate in UK, what is their current payday in the moment, or what is their things? You will find plenty of resources, a lot of ideas, a lot of data. There is a lot of things, a lot of news, a lot of this and that. When you do it here, there's nothing. Not only in Arabic, it's even in English. So even if you try it in Arabic language, you will not find very difficult, very. So when I think about this, and I have seen this, it's one of the things that resonates with me to start a podcast is that, first of all, I'm passionate about communicating, and then I'm passionate to meet and curious to know a persons and to dive into their personal stories and learn from it and give the community something back that they deserve. And so when I have this purpose in mind, I think about the ultimate goal of doing the podcast is giving value back to the community. Not only the community, but also to showcase to elsewhere that we can do it as well. It's not that we want to compete with them. With full due respect, they are in a much better place. They are in bigger platforms. They are in a big positions. And also there's a lot of directly and indirectly things that evolve with this. But having them doing it inspire us to do it as well. So why not? That's the first layer of a question. Second is that we need to showcase what's happening here, because there's nothing there talks about what's happening here. And third, we want to showcase our uniqueness when we are doing it. It's just not another platform that it's happened there, it happens here, or something happened there. It should be we created the Arabic version. It's not that at all. It is an inspiration to show the content, the values, and most importantly, like I said, is the heritage and culture. Because I am confident, this is my personal interruption, when I had met with the people, and I have noticed they have no idea about what's happening here. And there's nothing, even the simple data, that's nothing. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. Although that question, to be honest, when I thought about it, I rather not answer it because it's so deep. And I didn't want to answer it by bluffing. I just want to have a genuine thought. And so this is my first time somebody asked me this, actually, and on the spot, on the camera. So you'll allow my thought going here and there, but hopefully that answers your questions. Interesting.
And that's why I asked you the question, because I knew your answer was that deep. And that's what people buy into. For example, in me following your channel, I can see a systematic increase in the number of views episode to episode, because the more people are being exposed to your why, to your vision, that's why they're watching the show. That's why they want to be a part of the community. We're buying into what Master Mo stands for, showcasing the heritage, showcasing the culture, and being committed to putting Bahrain on the map, because you were tired of whenever somebody asked you where you're from and you said Bahrain, and they said, where's that? That's why I'm on the show. I'm buying into your passion for this. I'm buying into your commitment of this. That's what the listeners, that's what the viewers are buying into. That's why you're watching right now. You would not watch this if it was not adding value in some shape or form. Perhaps the title was interesting, but the passion and the commitment of the host, the person that started it, is what keeps you coming back. Because the guest changes every episode, but the host remains the same. And that consistency in his commitment to heritage and culture of Bahrain is what you're buying into. And that's what we buy into as leaders. We buy into a leader's desire to help us grow. I've had 3 strong leaders and mentors in my life, and I'm in touch with all 3 of them today. One of them is my father. He's inspired a lot of leadership in me. The other 2 were 2 bosses that I used to work for. They were both managing directors, and I reported to both of them when I was in their companies. And both of them taught me different parts of leadership. So these 3, call it mentors and coaches, they play both roles for me in many ways and shapes and forms, and I'm still in touch, obviously, with all of them. They have something that I aspire to. Their why was strong enough. Their why was strong enough for me to buy into. And, we speak a lot about being authentic, and we are the sum total. There's a famous phrase, you are the sum total of the 4 closest people around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You've heard of this?
Yeah. So you're going to be the 5th rich if these 4 are rich, or 5th dumb if these guys are dumb.
Exactly that. That doesn't mean that you become them. It means you extract and you learn from the best of them, and you internalize it, and you make it relevant to you and how you lead and how you execute. And it all starts with how you lead yourself, Master Mo. You cannot lead another human being if you can't lead yourself.
I like that. I want to dive in, Biraj. I don't know, and I have no idea, honestly, the thought process, and this is the first time I admit this, because the thought process is always, and this is the second time I see it, I had a question in my mind, and through your answers, you're telling me bits and pieces from the question I'll ask, and I'm like, how on earth, it should be this way, I should be listening, you should be speaking, and then I should formulate a follow-up questions based on the idea that I have relevant questions for you. Now, That I understand, and that's my role as a podcaster in order to make a content that's worth watching, and that's the people watching, right? The only thing I don't know, and I had difficult to understand, is how your answers indirectly link to the question I want to ask. That I didn't know. It's not written in any books. And I'm honest about that.
No, it goes to show that the content and the
I don't know.
engagement is working, you know?
I know. It's just crazy because this is my role as a podcaster and I have understood it. But then how on earth your questions or your answers related to the next question I have? And this is like the third question right now. You're saying peace and peace. I'm like, I know if I ask this question, you'll be intrigued by that. And I'm gonna... And just for the benefit of the guest, I have not shared any question with Biraj because I tell him I'm gonna challenge you on the spot.
That's
so
true.
that is that makes me how on earth he has an idea. I find it very difficult even to process that right now. I'm like, really? Is he that smart or I am not that up to the pace with him?
On the contrary, I think we're both very aligned on the topic, you know,
Okay.
and it showcases your why. We just answered your why, right? You want to showcase, put Bahrain on the map. It also goes to show that you came highly prepared as a podcaster and a host of the show. I mean, I haven't seen any of your questions, but I'm aware that you've got all of them printed out. You're ready. You've been thinking about the topic. You've been working with the topic. You've been living the topic when it comes to leadership. You know, Master Mo, leadership is one of the most difficult things that a person can do. Everybody that I ask, and they give me such incredible answers. I always say, did you choose leadership? Majority of my answers is no, leadership chose me. And then I say, okay, so what do you mean by that? Well, I was given the promotion or was promised a higher package or something. And the mentality of that needs to shift. When you choose leadership, you are choosing the hardest job in an organization. If you are not ready for that, you're not ready to be a leader.
I agree. On a personal note for the personal insights.
Yes.
And since you had been working with both teams and performing and managing their performances over 2 decades almost, and I like the part where you had included the 3 leaders that taught you and inspired, and you just said aspired from them. What is the both things that you have learned, both professionally and personally, when it's come to evolving a team and building a successful performance improvement teams? What are the key lessons you learn from these gentlemen or the 3 gentlemen?
Yeah, good question. And I mean, they wouldn't mind me naming them on the show, so hopefully they're watching as well. They get a shout out from me. So
shout out. You can go ahead with shout out. Actually, yeah, go ahead.
So my dad is one of these people that you cannot help but learn every time he communicates. He has this presence, this power about him, and just his way of building a framework and putting ideas in that framework empowers you to be a better version of yourself. He's just absolutely phenomenal. You'll think he's reading your mind because you'll go to him with a problem and he'll help you solve it on the spot. And what he taught me was, he taught me how to open my entire reservoir of fire and passion. Like, he taught me how to be fiery, how to be passionate, how to be the go-getter, how to get what you want, how to not let anything stand in your way, how that you have no excuses. He taught me this very popular phrase: you can make business or you can make excuses, never both at the same time.
You can build business.
You can make business.
You can make business.
Or you make excuses. Never both at the same time. You can only do one. So he taught me a lot about mentality. Then my next coach or mentor, his name is Rocky Singh.
Rocky!
Shout out to Rocky.
Rocky! Yeah, I like the Rocky.
Yeah, like nice name, right?
Energy when you say it. Rocky,
yeah.
like
Rocky Balboa. He's a good guy. I hope he's watching this. So he taught me how to then contain that passion, contain that fire. So my dad taught me how to unleash the fire. That was the volcano erupting. And Rocky then taught me, this is how you reel it in. So he was instrumental in my life, and I still rely on him to this day, as I do with my dad. And then my third coach and mentor, his name is Willie Maritz. He's now in Dubai. He's also from South Africa. And he taught me the balance between the two.
Wow. So, in other words, you're telling me that one leader did something that the other come and carry on with it, that the other come and carry on with it. How's that even possible?
That's a good question. I wish I knew the answer. I think because of where I was in my life, the three leaders manifested themselves. They were my three wise men. They manifested themselves in that way to help me and guide me be this version of myself in terms of leadership. There is one person that I also haven't mentioned in this, and that's also my wife. So my wife has also helped me grow and be this version of myself below my iceberg. So that's when no one else gets to see me. When I'm not in front of a classroom, not in front of a leadership team, not in front of a board of directors, when it's just me and her, she's also helped me on that
When you are
journey.
Biraj, basically.
When I'm just
Biraj.
at
Just
home
be.
with a shorts and t-shirt, just be, So she's helped me a lot. These three mentors, leaders, and coaches, my dad, Rocky, and Willie, man is a single island. By man, I mean mankind. No human being is a single island. You need mentors and coaches. You need people to come and help. You need people to drive you. Master Mo, I cannot tell you the value of my family and them supporting me. My mom, my sister, my brother. We're a close-knit family. Everybody knows what everybody is doing. Like right now, I'm here in Bahrain. I guarantee you, I open up my WhatsApp chat, there'll be messages from them encouraging me for the day, encouraging me to say, go out and live your purpose. Make a difference in somebody else's life. So if somebody sees me standing in front of a classroom, I'm not rocking up to do a job. I don't need to be a trainer. I'm rocking up because I'm committed to helping you go to the next level, a better version of yourself, because I've had people do that to me and I've seen the benefit of it. I've had millions in my account and I've had negative in my account. I know the scale. I know the pain of both. I know the pleasure of both. And you need these mentors to help and guide you. The first one, my dad, unleashed the fire. Rocky helped me contain it. Willie taught me to balance it.
And your wife allow you to be who you are today and keep everything as you are and showcase that the best version of Biraj that we are seeing now on camera.
Absolutely. And I mean, three other people, my mom, my sister, my brother, they have been there no matter what. My brother will message me every day and tell me, hey bro, keep on doing the magic that you're doing. Go live it. My mom will message me every day, even before I step into a class, even before I see a new CEO of a company, anything. She'll say, I'm so proud of you, carry on. My sister will say, you're the best at what you do, go on. My wife will message me and say, I love you, I believe in you, I know you're going to make us proud. It's nothing that I do came from me. Everything is because of the people that help and support me. And this is what we need as families. This is what we need. This is the purpose of a family, right? To help us, to build us, to grow us. I cannot understand how there are family members, and I mean, I'm saying it very facetiously, how there's family members that don't speak to each other and that cannot support each other, because it doesn't exist in our family. Yes, we have our ups and downs. Yes, we get angry. Yes, we have call it a disagreement now and then, or a bit of a screaming match now and then. But the next day, we forgive each other, we forget it, and we move on. And we
How do you pay back to whatever? The way you're talking to them, it feels like a debt you're taking it from the largest bank in the whole world. And it feels like the pay plan looks like even longer than it is. But I'm intrigued to know, how would you really pay back to them?
Good question. I don't think it's possible for any of us to pay back to the ones that give us something that's invaluable. If they'd given me 1,000 dinar, I can give them 1,000 dinar back. But they've given me something more valuable than 1,000 dinar. The only way you can pay back something that is priceless is to pay it forward. And by paying it forward, it means teaching somebody else that. Once you believe you are 100% the absolute master, the pinnacle of your subject, and if you believe you cannot learn any more, then you start off at level 1 in helping others get to that level. So in the same way, not that I believe that I'm at the top of anything, I still believe I'm very much climbing this mountain of learning, understanding leadership, understanding how to use AI, understanding business. Even though as you said, it's next year I'll be 20 years in business, I still believe there's so much more for me to learn. I cannot wait for it. I'm excited for it because I believe you got to learn something new every day. I cannot pay it back to my family, so I pay it forward to the people that attend my classes. I pay it forward to the C-suite team members that I'm coaching, the executives that I'm coaching, the people that I work with daily. Pay it forward. If you cannot pay back, pay forward.
Nice. I love this energy. If you can't pay it back, pay forward. It's really nice, sweet, and I'm not allowed to say the third because I think you already understand. It's also good to give something for the benefit of the guest, like what he was thinking, right? I think if I say the name, Taryn will be the only one who will understand that because she taught me this, by the way,
Okay.
some other time. And anyways, I love how you sounded, and I love your experiences, and I really value you sharing this aspiration and how they inspire you, and how did they really impact your life, especially that they come in a chronicle order to the things that you really need. And I think this is kind of a calling, or it's not a karma really. It's weird that all of these things happen in order for you, just to it feels like whatever happened in life, it's for a purpose. And if I link this analogy with what you just said right now, it's exactly it. So how on earth, when you would face something within your life that most needed is someone to be with you, which is your wife, and then your father to take this energy, and just like you said, it's just like elaboration of volcano, and then someone else to teach you how to maintain it and how to make sure that to sustain it, and ensure that how you kept it with you, not away from you. Then learning from someone else how you be manipulate and using what, when, and stop when, and it feels like having that versatile dynamic heads, like you keep on shifting it, and all of them, they came in order. I mean, if these three come in different time zone, you wouldn't be the same person you are here today, which strongly believes in the first thing, that whatever happens is for a reason. And that's a crazy analogy. We were having this discussion off records when we were coming to shoot this episode. We have a general talk about that, but I didn't knew that deep conversation or that chit chat will elaborate more and will help me to make a brilliant follow-up question that you loved. And for this, I'm pleased, honestly.
Me too. Me too. And you couldn't have said it better. I
Yeah.
fully believe, and I see you share the same passion, that everything happens for a reason. I firmly believe you and I are meant to be here today. I firmly believe that in each person's life, the trials and tribulations that you face, that only you know about, only you know, Master Mo, only you know the trials and tribulations that you have in your heart and in your mind. Only you know what your bank account may look like. Only you know the personal challenges you're trying to overcome. Only you may know, let's call it a family member has a health condition and you're trying to take care of them. Only you know those things. And as you said, everything happens for a reason. What is the reason that it's happening right now? What is it meant to teach me? I believe you can learn something from anything. And an example I like to give is, even if you look at a tree, what can you learn from a tree? And I asked this in class, and people come up with amazing answers. One of the things that I've learned in my life, and this is not my analogy, I've learned it elsewhere, is that you can learn to be tolerant from a tree. The tree cannot and does not complain about the sun, the snow, the rain, the dust. If somebody comes in and graves on it, somebody chops off a branch, it cannot complain. So what is the use of us complaining? You can learn something from everybody. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
That's true.
Not my saying, but I subscribe to it. I like it.
But it's good. It's not necessarily this is your school of thought, but then this is something that you seen it somewhere, and then you believed in it, and then maybe you tried it, and then there you go. It's not necessarily we're just talking about AI, for God's sake. So
how did we get here?
Yeah, exactly. What if this is not? No, I'm not saying anything. It's just like also to be picky and choose whatever you want to say, and what's your brain would come in this specific moment. And
Yes.
You rightfully said you bring something that resonate with the conversation, added a huge value, and at the end of the day, it's a backup personal story. What else would I ask as a podcaster to bring me an example such as this? And I love it. So you're sharing this is something huge for me. So there you go.
I'm really, really glad it's added value.
Nice.
And going back to your vision, you said that you want to showcase the heritage and the culture of Bahrain. What you're doing here is a prime example of how the Bahraini people live their culture and learn and grow. One thing, and very blessed to have traveled to many countries, Master Mo. One of the things that I've learned about Bahraini people is their absolute love to learn and become a better version of themselves. They love it. They are so warm and welcoming. I've never met a Bahraini that hasn't invited me over to their place or treated me well. And again, for the viewers, I was treated like an absolute celebrity by Master Mo and his family. Phenomenal. And I had the pleasure of meeting his mom for a couple of seconds. And I tell you, if you want to meet a powerful woman, you have to meet his mom. She is unbelievable. She has this aura and presence about her. She walks into the room and automatically you can feel the power enter that room. And that comes from being very, very strong below your iceberg. I mean, let's take your mom as an example. She's probably a prime candidate of somebody who's gone through life, who's experienced life to its fullest, call it the good and the bad of life, but has stood tall and has stood up. And this goes for many women around the world, my mom included, your mom included. They stand up and they say, you know what? I'm going to be counted. I'm going to represent power. I'm going to be something to this family. And that's what I experienced from your mom in that short time.
Wow. I find it hard to believe that you're saying that, other that you don't know her, but there's a stronger belief inside of my head right now. It's telling me you did some research about my mom. How on earth you're talking about my mom and knowing all of this, although you don't have no information about her, and you met her for a couple of seconds, but yet you're saying something. I resonate more because I know her from the back end, because I see the other part that you don't see. And it's shocking. How would you come to a conclusion of that, yet you didn't even know her on a personal level?
So it's a good point. And one of my passions is reading body language. So body language is a subject very close to my heart, and it's something that I have put a lot of time and effort and research in learning, and hopefully at some stage in my life I'll be able to master it. And you can read a lot about what a person's saying. Even though your mom was speaking to me in a different language, the language was not a barrier because her body was communicating her power.
Wow, that's level of thing I don't understand, guys. So even if I'm looking right now, I don't even understand. He's the expert of it. I have no idea what is that. How could you understand that? Maybe this is something actually to dive in and learn more. Yeah. Imagine someone with like, I'm just saying that as a podcast, if someone, I think there is a couple of courses like linguistics or body language. These things I have very, very minimal information, like even not even a foundation level, I would say.
Right.
So if I would get to this, imagine that I have the ability to do that.
Yeah. So for example, every time you speak into a guest, or I'm in front of a class or in front of people or working with teams, you know who's engaging with you and who's not. There are 12 different types of people in your class. I won't go into all the details, but I'll give you the top 5, even the top 4. So you get the champion, you get the saboteur, you get the observer, and you get the influencer. So let's take those first 4. Those first 4 have a lot of influence on how the class, the audience, the team will receive you. You need to be able to spot that before they say or speak to you. The way to do that is through the body language. And even the micro expressions, how they move their eyes, how they move the space here between their eyebrows, how they move, what happens around their mouth, the level of which their neck, which way it's facing in and out, where their hands are positioned, which way their feet are facing. Is it facing towards the door? Are they sitting with their arms crossed? Most people think sitting with your arms crossed means, I'm blocking you off, or I'm not receptive to what you're saying.
Maybe I'm feeling cold.
Maybe I'm feeling cold. Maybe something's going on. Maybe something completely different. So there's ways to read people, even by the way they stand, even by the way they walk. And we are judged as human beings and leaders based on our body language first. First impressions lasting. I met your mom for a couple of seconds. Can you imagine? That was my first impression. There's a powerful woman here. It's a powerful individual. That'll be a lasting impression. I'll always remember that. Body language. Do not underestimate. So for the viewers, do not underestimate the value that your body language plays. I know some of the most intelligent minds on the planet with the worst body language, and people don't take them seriously until they get to know their mind. And then I know some people who, let's call it, are not the top achievers in school or at work or at high school or wherever, but they have impeccable body language and people take them seriously.
Wow. Is it that deep and serious?
Human beings, the psychology of a human being is, go back generations. We were living in huts. And we didn't know if another human being was coming to attack us or just walking past. So when that other human being was coming, we would study everything this person did to be able to protect ourselves in case they launched an attack. As an example, if somebody's approaching you, many parts of the world, if your hands are in your pocket and concealed, you don't trust that person because you don't know what they're concealing. In the olden days, they could have been concealing a knife or a gun or something like that. So that's why they say when you're having a conversation, make sure the palms of your hands are visible. Small example, but a small visible palm like this builds trust because you can't, I'm not concealing anything. I'm showing you everything that I am. It's these small things. So what I do in the class, if I spot I got a saboteur or a champion, I also rearrange the class to make sure certain people are sitting in strategic spots to be able to help that class grow and learn. I don't mind if you're a saboteur. I welcome saboteurs because I know, at least with a saboteur, I know how to change them and I know how to engage them so they can positively influence a class. Because a saboteur also asks very relevant questions and they may push the boundary. I'm not saying they're being rude. Please don't be rude. What I'm saying is ask the tough and difficult questions. By asking tough, difficult questions, strictly speaking, you're not a saboteur. You want to learn more. Maybe just the way you're doing it might come across as a saboteur. Long story cut short, we want different people. We want different schools of thought. We want different questions. Differences is what makes us human.
Right. I'm just triggered to know what is the definition of each one of them in very basic words. So if you could please also, maybe this is the first time in a single episode, I'm normally if I say for the benefit of the guest, it could be for a topic or something that they don't know, it could be from a jargon or terminology that you have used. And there you go. That's it. I'll not ask for the benefit of the guest. For the benefit of the guest. You reminded me actually from the public speak club that I attend, because every single thing that one of the rules that has for the benefit of the guest. So now you're saying something so luxury and so deep and so true, and I wanted to make sure that for the benefit of the guests, they understood it as well. So if you just elaborate a little bit on that so that we can move to another topic, which is what is the difference between champion and influencer and sabotage. So just in one line, small line.
Right. So whenever you're presenting for anybody in sales or anybody going out there, leaders, especially even in your team, you have different types of people in your audience. I'll only mention 4. The first one is the champion. The champion is the person who wants you to do really well. They believe in your content. More importantly, they believe in you. They want you to succeed. So they call the champion. The second one is called a saboteur. The saboteur is the person that has their own agenda, which might go against your agenda. And so they want to push their own agenda. This can work negatively against you because it's their own agenda versus your agenda. So for obvious reasons, it works against you. The third is the influencer. An influencer can work for you or against you because they will influence the people around them to listen to you, or they'll influence the people around them to not listen to you. The fourth is the observer. The observer is the one that sits and looks and watches what everybody else is doing, and then they do something that's similar to everybody else so they don't seem like an outcast. They can be dangerous or they can work for you. Your goal is to be able to connect with everybody. And remember this here, leaders, salespeople, HR people, admin people, anybody. Even if you're in school and you're watching this. Your goal is not to be liked, because 50% of the people will like you and 50% of the people won't like you. Your goal is that 100% of the people will remember you. I'll say it again. 50% of the people will like you. 50% of the people won't like you. Your goal is that 100% must remember you.
How? I mean, I know somehow the answer, but I wanted to understand your perspective into this. So how you don't like me, but you will remember the thing I would say. How will you reach a position where you ensure or give me an accuracy or assurance that they will remember what I said? What would be the way to convey that?
There's 2 main reasons, or two ways to do that. Number 1, what you say must have impact. Whatever you say, you can't say it for the sake of saying it. You have to say it because it must have impact. Otherwise, why are you saying it? So impactful communication and messaging, depending whatever your pitch is or your presentation is, or whatever objective you're aligning your team towards. And number 2, everything that you say, and everything that you do must be there to add value. It must be of an agenda independent of you. It cannot be based on your ego. It has to come out in a way of humility, and it must be there for a business objective. Let's say you're doing a team. You're meeting with your team. Let's say you're meeting with a new client. So you must contribute and add value to their business.
Nice.
If you do not have impact and you do not add value, you will not be remembered. The greatest leaders of our planet have had impact and have added value. And I'll use Nelson Mandela as an example because I'm from South Africa and many people around the world know Nelson Mandela.
Yep.
Right? For those of you that never heard, he basically got rid of apartheid in South Africa. For the viewers that have never heard of him, if you get a chance, please Google Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, what impact did he have? He took a country of 60 million people and freed them. The value is that my kids, generations later, 3 generations later, my kids can go to a school and have an education that is on equal level of every other child, which they wouldn't have had 40, 50, 60 years ago. That's impact and that's value. And that's why he'll be remembered for generations to come. And that's why people talk about him for generations to come.
Nice. I love that. I do, trust me. And I love the fact that how you associate the idea inside of me, and then you said in a way. It's really funny, really funny. Before we move on from the personal insight, you build a lot of high-performing teams, and you had demonstrated that. I do remember when I read this couple of things you had posted in LinkedIn, about building a high-performance team and ways and some tips and hints about these things. So what are the common mistakes that you have often noticed from the market leader that they come to either to pressure you in what they think is true, or what are the common mistakes that you have noticed throughout your career? Because you've done a lot onto this specific thing, which is building high performing team. So from your perspective, what are the mistakes or common?
Yes. So the reason why we recruit is because we want people that are more intelligent than us to do a job, right? So one of the mistakes that we as leaders make, I say we, it could be anybody, is that we hire somebody and then we tell them how to do their job. That's not why we hired that person in the first place. We hired them because we had faith and confidence that they'll be able to execute the job in the way that they would do it. So why hire somebody and then tell them how to do their job? No, you hire somebody and you give them the tools for them to do their job. Don't tell them how to do it. Give them the tools. If that tool happens to be AI, fantastic. If that tool happens to be going for further training, fantastic. Don't tell them how to do their job. That's number one. Number two, as leaders, we tend to hire people, or we favor hiring people that are more like our personality. That's a big mistake for a high-performing team. We need to hire people that are more diverse and that complement us as a team. It's easy to hire somebody where I look in the mirror and I see a reflection of me because we're of the same gang, it's birds of a feather flock together. But the most effective high-performing teams have a lot more diversity, and that's what we need. Those are 2 big errors that we as leaders make.
Why? In your perspective, why these errors specifically?
It boils down to being in a comfort zone. So I'll hire somebody who's like me because I'm more comfortable with it, because I understand how this person works and I understand what gets them going. Why? Because they're exactly like me. If I can read myself, I'll be able to read you. As an example, I'm a driver personality. In other words, I'm result orientated. It would be more difficult for me to manage the complete opposite of my personality, the amiable. It's more difficult for me to manage the amiable than it is the driver. With the driver, if I've hired a salesperson as an example, even a data analyst, whoever in my business, and I say, please come have a performance conversation with me, I can dive in and be straight to the point exactly how I'd manage myself, and hopefully both of us walk away happy. The amiable is not going to respond like that. Now remember, there are 4 primary personalities: the driver, the expressive, analytical, and amiable. You need all 4 of them in your team. You cannot have a team just of drivers. If you have a team just of driver personalities, you can have fireworks every day because volcanoes are going to be erupting and they're going to get in each other's face. So that's why being in that comfort zone is not healthy. Second part, or as I mentioned, my first point was we hire people and then tell them what to do. That's also because I'm in my comfort zone and I'm uncertain. I'm stepping into a new space. There's a lot of fear around it. How do I give this person full freedom, full reign to go and run this particular business objective or run this particular project and make all the mistakes, and then I'll teach them afterwards. We also have time pressures. We also have budget pressures. We also have a board that's looking at us and saying, you got to deliver on this or else you're out. We're also working towards personal bonuses. So it's much easier for me to tell somebody how to do it so I can tick these boxes.
I love it. I love it. I want to dive into your one of the things that intrigued me actually when you just answered this question again, just like the rest of the questions. I'm sick of tired of telling you how great your answer is, and it's directly related with my questions. When you're speaking about AI, when you think about the developing of the new way of learning, in your understanding, with the learning technology and other platforms that is that process, what was your thought into this, like evolving AI and learning and technology into the training, into the trends of training?
Yeah, good question again. So it wasn't like I sat one day and said, all right, I'm going to teach people how to use AI in leadership.
Yeah.
There were a few customers that I worked with directly, and they probably wouldn't appreciate me saying their name on YouTube, so I won't say it now, but they know who they are.
Yeah.
And these clients worked with me, and the idea was, how do we deliver relevant content to our leaders now based on what our leaders' objectives are? And so this client of mine that worked together, we realized and determined that with the advent of AI and everybody focusing on how to use it right now, we are on the perfect timing in history. We've hit the historical, the sweet point in history where we can be pioneers to teach people how to effectively roll this out. So it's a combination of the right people coming together to solve the right problem, and we achieve this incredible result, which is using AI in leadership.
Nice. I love that. So if I'll take you this and I dive into what is the thing that excites you the most, since if you had a combination, forget about the people part. I just want to focus on the education and AI, and how can business leverage into this combination to improve workforce development?
Yeah. So number one, you have to leverage it. There's no option. If you want to stay relevant as a business in the market, you have to educate, number one, including your customers, educate your people and your customers, and you have to integrate AI at some level. That integration could be generative AI for everybody to use daily, or it could be new systems that you're adopting AI technologies to make it easier for you to do business with your customers. So how do you do this? Number one, you got to start with, what is our goal and our vision as a company? Once that's established, okay, what's going to take us there? And what is the gap? In other words, I may want to streamline a process on how to connect with my customer more. And so I develop an app. And on this app, my customer can contact me and engage with me. Great. But that was done 10 years ago already. The next level of differentiating and being competitive in the market is the ability to use AI to make it easier for your customer to do business with you. Now, I'm not saying that everybody must go and adopt AI tomorrow. If it's relevant for you in your business, if your customer is expecting it, if your employees are expecting it, if your business is ready for it, then go for it. But if you know the market's ready for it, your customers are expecting it, your people are expecting it, but you're holding it back, then you are doing an injustice to your business. And that business could be a one-man show, or you could be employing 10,000 people. Sometimes, you are the biggest reason of people and companies being held back. And as a leader, you got to look yourself in the eye and look yourself in the mirror and say, am I holding my company back? Am I holding my team? Am I holding my department back? Am I the one that's leading them forward? And it's very easy to say I'm leading them forward. So if so, how? Show me where, show me how. What are you doing differently to other leaders? What makes you a better leader than somebody else? What makes you a better leader than you were 5 years ago? If you're doing the same thing, if you're leading in the same way you were leading 5 years ago, you have not evolved as a leader. You've repeated yourself for 5 years. You have not gained 5 years experience. You have gained 5 years of repetition.
Wow, that's so deep, man. But yet it's so true, and I think about it in multiple layers. It's true. It's true. Wow, what a way, really. You have something in mind. Go for it.
I have a few things in mind. One
Go
of
ahead.
them is that I firmly believe that we need more podcasts like this. I firmly and truly believe it. And I'm buying into your vision of showcasing Bahrain to the world. Absolutely. That's number one. Number two, we need more podcasters and interviewers like you, because you've made this entire thing about the guest and the subject and the topic. And that's something that I firmly believe in. You know, Dale Carnegie has written the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in this book, one of the chapters or one of the pillars is that when you're engaging with somebody, don't make it about yourself. Make it about them. And so that you've done fantastically. The third thing is, and I learned this from being a part of a CEO group in South Africa, part of a bigger network. So one of the CEOs was on stage and, people were asking him questions. And he said this fantastic quote, and it stuck with me. He said, "If you rest, you rot." And what he was saying was, the day you believe that you are number one in your industry or your field,
You're done.
you are done. Game over. Shop is closed. You're done. The wolf on top of the hill is never as hungry as the wolf running up the hill. The wolf running up the hill is hungry to be number one, and he will do whatever it takes to topple the wolf on the top of the hill to be number one. If you want to be number one, you need to remember, you need to have the mentality, I'm not number one, so I need to get there. And that trying to get there is what will keep you as number one.
What a way. Actually, I would love this to go further, because every time I had a question, Biraj has an amazing answer, an amazing analogy, and the way he put it through is truly amazing. It's superb in his explanation, and the way he transformed the ideas and sharing his experiences and living with his stories and inspire me and whoever listens to this podcast. I mean, it's a true honor and pleasure to have you in, Biraj. For the people who were for the first time viewing this channel, please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the like button and write of us from your perspective, your comment. What's your thought on it? For Biraj, I'll make sure to put in in his Instagram handles, social media handles, LinkedIn, wherever you want to get in touch with him. He's a superb in what he's doing. I don't think there is a lot of things that I have said, yet I feel like still there is a lot to be taken. So maybe, and I love how he started this podcast in the very beginning. He said one of the things, he said, maybe we'll keep this to another episode. So you never know. As of now.
Well, to all the viewers out there, if you want more details on anything specific, let us know. And on my next trip in Bahrain, we'll very happily sit down and communicate and go into further details. It could be anything around a trust. It could be anything around the mentality to succeed. It could be anything around one of these concepts, the different peoples that are in your audience, how to enter new markets, how to grow your business, how to take a startup into a medium-sized company and further. Any of these topics. If you want more, let us know. Put it in the comments. And if we get enough votes on it, enough likes on it, and enough subscriptions,
yeah, maybe that's something I often don't challenge my viewers. Maybe this is the first time I'm doing this, because I think this is gonna be a huge deal when it comes to the value that we're offering this content. However, it's come to an end, unfortunately, as I'm rightfully feeling sad. As of you, I imagine that's would be with you as well, because leaving Biraj is something I don't want to do, yet I have to do. So, Biraj, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing these experiences. Thank you for being vulnerable and being who you are today. And thank you for being authentic and be. Just like we get to know you, be. We had a shortcut of saying be. If you're new, like I said in this channel, ensure to subscribe. And my promise to you is, the bigger the audience gets, the bigger guest, and my audience is my what I would really love you to do is sharing this message, and make sure someone like Biraj is well. He did a very wonderful job into transforming the knowledge of leadership into a creative storytelling with a very concise, small, and digestible information that allow us to learn. And he said, even he was saying, it's not even me moderating the conversation, he was saying, for the benefit of the guest as well, he learned something. He inspired me of doing something every day. So take care of yourself. Thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful night, and see you soon. Thank you, Biraj.
Thank you, Master Mo. What an absolute pleasure meeting and being on your show. Much appreciated.
All the best, my dear.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck.
Take care.
Thank you.
God bless.